Welcome to the Art Marketing Influencers Show. Today on the show, I'll be speaking with Taria Dawson-Bell, who describes herself as predominantly a sketchbook artist, focusing on travel and urban sketching. She uses the medium of watercolor exclusively for this. I first came into contact with Taria and her husband Duncan when I and Val, my wife, house sat for them earlier this year. It soon became apparent to me that I had just made the acquaintance of a remarkably upwardly mobile young modern artist. I also discovered that she was an enterprising young woman of this age, familiar with the intricacies of the web. In short order, she had applied it in all its complexity, so much unlike many of us that dabble endlessly on the web, getting nowhere fast. I knew she was a worthy candidate for my fledgling podcast when I discovered that she had one viral YouTube video on her urban sketching that had recently gone viral, that is, and received 1.3 staggering million likes. Taria was definitely doing something right, and I was determined to find out just what it was. It wasn't until Taria returned from their tour and she mentioned her business being that of a successful online course on sketching that I realized she really had a story to tell and marketing strategies. So without further more ado, I'm going to introduce you to Taria, this most successful online media entrepreneur.
The travel thing that I was doing didn't completely end with COVID. It did come back, and then I was sort of continued working in the travel area whilst also building this kind of what I'm doing here, this business, I suppose you'd call it. And then it did come to a point where I was like, do you know what? I can afford to go all in on, this sketching business, if you like. I don't know why I find it weird calling it that, but it is a business. Taria's Sketchy Adventures, I guess, is how I should refer to it. But I decided that if I actually put my full effort and full hours behind it, then it can sustain me. So I did that in November 2021. So I guess we're a year and a few months into it, and it's going okay so far. So
hello once again. Welcome to the Art Marketing Influencers Show, where we showcase the daily lives and challenges of art professionals around the world. The aim is to benefit you, our audience, and in particular the visual artists amongst you. Overall, listening to a podcast series about the daily lives and challenges of all persons involved in marketing art, also known as all art professionals, can be an informative and engaging experience, offering unique perspectives on the art world and marketing strategies in general. But more on that in my podcast introduction video. You can see that on my playlist. If you're watching this on YouTube, please like and subscribe. I think you'll see the icon below, as this will really encourage me to continue to bring you a greater variety of speakers, and it helps the algorithm on YouTube to popularize the show to a greater audience. My guest today is, as you've heard, Taria Dawson-Bell. Have I got that correct as well?
Yeah. Recently got married, so just added the extra surname on the end there. Yeah.
Wonderful. Okay, that is to Duncan. Duncan and Taria are living in Lone Hill in South Africa, which is northwest of Johannesburg. Taria is a well-traveled, I might say, sketchbook and watercolor artist. She is also a successful online, I might even say, art entrepreneur, having her own, firstly, blog, secondly, YouTube series, video series, and thirdly, she's an online course creator. And then finally, and this is what we'll get around to shortly, she just authored a book which will be coming out shortly, which we'll be talking about. Then Taria is the founder of USK Johannesburg, being a non-profit group for urban sketching. As a result of being herself a member of the international group, which is called Urban Sketches. So, good morning, Taria, and welcome.
Thank you, Les. I'm just going to throw a correction in because I don't want to upset the Urban Sketches. Urban Sketches Johannesburg. Oh, I'm not the founder of that group. I just joined. They actually started, I think maybe in 2012 or something. So, but they've welcomed me with open arms to join their group since I've moved here from the UK. So, I'm involved in helping organise a few bits and stuff. So I just wanted to say that.
Wonderful. But you seem to be the profile there when I go on your Facebook page, on that group's Facebook page.
Yeah, I just help post a few things there, keep it running, that kind of thing. Yeah.
Fantastic. So, you will be representing them when you go over to Auckland later.
Yeah, that's right. So the International Urban Sketches Organisation hold a symposium each year in a different city around the world. Haven't done it since 2019 because of COVID, but they're coming back for the first year this year. And yes, it's going to be in Auckland in New Zealand. So I'm looking forward to going there and connecting with urban sketchers all over the world. It's going to be really amazing.
Okay, maybe you can. I've done this back to front now because that would be some of my last. Tell me about the founder. Is it Gabby or Gabrielle? How do you say surname?
I'm probably going to butcher this, so I do apologize. So it's Gabby Campanario, I think.
Campanario.
Yeah.
Okay. He's a Spaniard, born and raised in Spain, and then went over to Seattle and joined the Seattle Times. And he's an illustrator and so on. Continue, please.
Yeah, so I think he just started connecting with other people around the world, sharing sketches done on location of the world around him. And I believe they sort of started sharing sketches together over on Flickr and a sort of photo sharing website. I don't believe it's used quite as much as it was back in the day. It was almost used as a social media avenue as well. But anyway, from that, they kind of formed a community. Then they started their own blog, sharing stories and drawings from around the world. So it has its roots. Urban sketching has its roots in visual reportage, visual journalism. So anyway, from there, then they just discovered so many people around the world also do the same thing, and it just grew into a community. And Gabby, I believe, formalized it into a non-profit organization registered in the US. Called Urban Sketches. So you can find them on urbansketches.org.
I just muted myself for a moment. Okay, let's go back to the beginning. You're as I said, a sketchbook, a well-traveled sketchbook and a watercolor. I see your genre is watercolor. You don't paint in oils or anything like that. Okay.
I tried that once and I realized I don't have the attention span for it. So watercolor is more my style.
Okay. Take us to the origins. When did you first get involved in art per se?
Not really until maybe the age of, I don't know, like 25, 26. And I'm like 30, about to turn 37. So probably about 10 years ago. I did a little bit at school, and I've always felt like I was okay at drawing, but yeah, I just didn't feel good enough to pursue it, kind of thing. And I was always really into music, so I kind of wandered down the musical path for a long time. But yeah, I think I discovered sketching through like looking at Pinterest when that became a thing, whenever that started several years ago, and just sort of just seeing these kind of sketches on the internet. And I was like, oh, I really love that style. I love that people are drawing things around them, that it's kind of a almost like a journal, like a visual journal. So I was kind of like, maybe I can do that. Maybe I can try and learn to draw, you know? So I got a book. I think it was the Keys to Drawing. I forget who it's by. And I would just practice, still life stuff, drawing a pepper or drawing like a corkscrew or a trainer or something like that, And just slowly and slowly, I started to get the hang of it. Sometimes I'd go a few months with doing nothing. And then the kind of real catalyst was when I decided that I wanted to leave my band and leave my job, and I just really wanted to go and travel and like see some of the world. And that was until the age of 30. And I realized that I could combine what I was trying to do, sketching the world around me, with traveling. And like, how cool would that be? Just like sketch every day, record my journey in a sketchbook. So that's that's kind of like how it started, really.
Fantastic. It's then at some point COVID made an introduction into your life and the lockdown, and you seem to have had a bit of an epiphany in a podcast you saw on making money online. Tell us about that.
Well, that's right. I was working for, after I went traveling, I came back again and I started working for a travel company, an adventure travel company. So they specialize in taking people to places that are hard for people to visit by themselves. For example, Afghanistan, Iraq, Iran, Somalia, places like that. So I worked for that company for probably about 5 years, and it was cool. I got to visit some interesting places and also sketch some interesting places. So in March 2020, I was in South Sudan out in the tribal areas. So I kind of had no idea what was going on until I got back into the city and I heard from my now husband what was going on. So I managed to get myself a flight back into South Africa to be here. And yeah, I kind of realized very swiftly that the travel industry was in serious trouble and probably going to be for quite some time. So I was like, what can I do? I need to pivot here. And I was listening to a podcast. I think it's called Do You Even Blog? And I was listening to an interview with the founders of an organization called Income School. And the more I sort of delved into it, I was like, maybe I can actually start my own blog about travel sketching. I've got a lot of material to share with people. I'm no expert, but I can share like my journey from starting off and like show people a few things I'd learned along the way to help them out. And then from there, it kind of escalated into a YouTube channel because, obviously drawing and showing people what you're doing or how you're painting lends itself really well to the visual medium. So kind of gingerly started YouTube. I'm a massive introvert. I'm really shy. I was like, how am I going to do this? I don't want to show my face on camera. I don't even like my voice. I was like how far I've come since then is like quite amazing, really. But yeah, it just started to build. I just worked on it every single day and just did my best to build it, keep going.
Fantastic. So really, you besides obviously the self-interest, we're all looking after our own back pocket, so to speak. You also have a huge concern to propagate, to teach others how to sketch, and so you created blogs and video series and ebooks and an online course. Give us a little bit of background on that.
So I mean, following this, I became a member of Income School and kind of following their guidance. I started with the blog and then the YouTube channel, and then they kind of guide you and say the next sort of thing. It's all very well earning a tiny bit of advertising revenue from both of those things, but actually you can do better if you create an information product. And they said something about an ebook, and I was like, okay, how would that work for me? And at that time I really didn't feel like I wanted to put any kind of instructional ebook together. And I was like, how about I just put my sketches from all of my travels from 2017 to 2020 into an ebook, and just with some little stories, nothing too heavy on the writing side, but just so people can flip through and see my sketches, and also see where I started in 2017 and like how far I'd come over those 3 years of just keeping going, and where I was in 2020. So I made that ebook called Sketchy Adventures Around the World. And obviously I'd been to some interesting places as well. So I thought, people would actually really enjoy this. And yeah, it's done quite well. I don't actually have exact figures, but it's something I mention very regularly. And I have links on the website and YouTube and that kind of thing. And from there, I was like, okay, well, maybe if I did want to teach people, then I can create an online course. That is the next step onwards from just creating an ebook. Let's do a full course. And actually, when you think about it, it's just a bit more of several long-winded YouTube videos. It's not much more of a step forward from producing videos for YouTube. It's just like longer and like step by step, rather than trying to keep it short and entertaining for YouTube. So yeah, I did that, and it did okay. I would sell one or two here or there. But then I maybe 6 months later, I started working with an individual who said they could help me like really launch the course, and they had like all these marketing kind of things to do and copywriting and all that kind of thing. So I relaunched the course, and then it did really, really, really well. So that is kind of my flagship product, if you want to call it that. And I'm proud of it, because it does, I think, when you're only just past the beginning stage yourself, you can still very much remember how it is to be a beginner. So therefore you can kind of speak people's language, and you can really start from the beginning. Whereas I think if you're like really far down your journey, and like you're much more of, I don't know, yeah, if you're just further along in years from when it was that you started, I think it's sometimes hard to remember how it was when you're a beginner, and like the kind of questions people have and that kind of thing. So I think that's been beneficial.
Excellent. I sympathize with, or I resonate with your description there of an online course, and getting an online course off the ground. I've gone that journey myself. I know it may be a simple explanation of just a whole lot of YouTube videos strung together. It's a little bit more than that, I know.
Yeah. I try and downplay it in my head. Otherwise, if it feels too big, then it's easy to just put it off and not do it. But
exactly.
Yeah, if you can try and break it down and be like, okay, I find that motivating to myself personally anyway.
So thank you for sharing that with us.
Yeah, you're welcome.
So I just want to ask you a few other questions, if I might.
Sure.
How would you describe your creative process, and what inspires you to create your sketches?
My creative process is a disaster. I'd really like experimenting, and I do actually, over and above kind of the bits we've mentioned. I started a Patreon. I never know what to call it. Patreon channel, Patreon page, a while back, and over there, I've really found that I just enjoy experimenting. So I really like looking at other people's styles out there, within the urban sketching niche generally, but not always, and kind of think about how those artists making certain decisions or using certain colors and that kind of thing, taking that and then kind of trying to insert it somewhat into my own style, and then sharing that with other people. Like, I really enjoy that process. And in terms of inspiration, I mean, I follow basically my Instagram is just artists, but it's generally people who are kind of in the illustration or urban sketching or travel sketching kind of area. But lately I've been super inspired by children's book illustrators. I really enjoy how they kind of take a subject matter and they kind of really simplify it and make it really fun to look at, and how that kind of speaks to children. I don't know, I've been really interested in that lately. But yeah, I take a lot of inspiration from that, but also just looking at the books I have on the subject matter all the time as well, and just reminding myself why I fell in love with this particular genre of art making in the beginning, you know.
Yes. Let's presume I'm being introduced to sketching and urban sketching, for instance.
Mm-hmm.
And you want to advise me in the most simple way today. What would you say I should do today? Get myself a sketchbook, go outside, sketch my left foot on the coffee table, or what would you say?
Yeah, I mean, you can, just get a sketchbook and a pencil or pen and just start drawing the things around you. And it can just be like small things around the house. I know during COVID, none of us could go out to urban sketch. So a whole kind of movement started happening around urban sketching at home. So just recording your life, that kind of thing, and treat it like more like an illustrated journal. You know, you can even, I love it when, I don't do it so much myself, but I love it when people put little notes next to what they've drawn, you know, kind of recording and just a few sentences, you know, recording what happened at the time. And then over and above that, yeah, just getting outside, whether it's just drawing the garden or drawing your house or going down to, I mean, I'm a huge fan of drawing churches. That's like one of my favorite subject matters. So finding a nice looking church to draw, that kind of thing. And then over and above that, that's, you know, people start with the drawing side of things. And then most urban sketchers do use watercolor to add color and paint to their sketches, just because of the mobile nature of watercolor. It's just so easy to carry around like a little set of watercolors with you. And a little brush and stuff. So that's kind of like the next stage, just to slap some color onto things.
And okay, it's for your personal use as well. But is there a forum I can upload it to share it with the world or with a particular group?
Yeah, I think you know, it used to be Flickr, but I think, to be honest with you, it's basically Instagram now is like the main place where people share their sketches. So I believe the urban sketch hashtag or urban sketching hashtag are well over 1 million posts now. So it really is quite a popular thing to do, and it's gaining popularity. And there's urban sketching chapters, just like we have one here in Johannesburg. There's one in Cape Town. There's also one in Stellenbosch, but they're all over the world. Like in almost every city over the world, there's a group of people, an urban sketching chapter, which is like amazing.
It is.
Very cool.
I was reading some enormous figures here. In 60 countries, 394 cities, having 120,000 members. That's today, or at the time of the email,
Yeah,
or the article. It's incredible.
it's amazing. Yeah.
All right, now you're going over to Auckland shortly.
Mm-hmm.
What exactly are you going to do there?
Well, so I'm going over for the symposium. I'm going to travel around myself beforehand for a couple of weeks, just in a camper van, and just see how that goes. Just see the country, do lots of sketching, hopefully film as much as possible. I'm hoping to release like a bit of a little mini series on YouTube, that kind of thing, of traveling around in the van and sketching. And then, yeah, it just culminates in the symposium. So that is 3 days of workshops with kind of the big names in urban sketching. There's also sketch crawls in the afternoon. So the workshops in the morning and the sketch crawls in the afternoon, where you kind of meet at a location and then you all sort of go off in different directions and just sketch for like 3 hours. Then you kind of reconvene and everyone throws down their sketchbook on the floor and you can kind of see what everyone's done, that kind of thing. And yeah, and some demos and stuff. It's just an opportunity to just meet urban sketchers from all over the world, really, and make new friends and connections and stuff. So yeah.
Yes. Is this a full-time career for you at the moment?
Yeah, it is. So the travel thing that I was doing didn't completely end with COVID. It did come back, and then I was sort of continued working in the travel area whilst also building this kind of what I'm doing here, this business, I suppose you'd call it. And then it did come to a point where I was like, do you know what? I can afford to go all in on this sketching business, if you like. I don't know why I find it weird calling it that, but it is a business. Taria's Sketchy Adventures, I guess, is how I should refer to it. But yeah, I decided that if I actually put my full effort and full hours behind it, then it can sustain me. So I did that in November 2021. So I guess we're a year and a few months into it, and it's going okay so far. So
So you're a musician in London previously.
Yeah.
Art form. Did you ever see yourself being an artist, a sketcher, a drawer, a watercolorist,
No.
and having a future in it?
No.
Life has some amazing twists and turns.
Amazing twists and turns. Yeah. To be honest, I feel like, yeah, a lot of a lot of my life has just taken lots of weird twists and turns. So this is just the next one. But yeah, I always wanted to be a rock star. Always wanted to be in a band, which is weird because I am so shy. But yeah, always wanted to be in a band. I think that's why I was the bass player, so I could be at like the back and just kind of still be on stage, but not be the main focus. But yeah, things move on. Hey, but yeah, I had no idea I would be kind of an artist doing this full time. It's amazing.
All right, I'm tempted to ask you a few more other questions, but I won't.
Okay.
Time is moving on. Maybe we can do another podcast when you get back from New Zealand.
Yeah, that would be awesome.
You can tell us about the exciting developments there and the future of urban sketching, and continue this conversation.
Okay, yeah.
I thank you very much for the time you've given us thus far.
You're very welcome, Les.
We go to New Zealand. So, Taria, thank you very much once again.
Thank you, Les.
Thank you, Taria, for that wonderful upbeat message. Taria has hopefully inspired us in this interview to think out of the box, and she, by her example, encourages us in finding novel ways to market and sell our art, or to re-examine our approach to art creation. Hers was to help teach others to sketch, use watercolors, and just have fun doing it all. She was at heart creating an art community and thus extending joy of making art to ordinary folk around the world. Congratulations, Taria. Long might you continue to influence and develop others and their art creation endeavors. Now, if I could ask you once again, if you could like, subscribe, if you want to receive more, and share if you found this of value and others might equally have some value out of it. Share with your friends and family. And then I'd like to hear your comments. Comment below. So I'm going to bid you farewell and thank you for being my guest today on the Art Influencers show, or Marketing Influencers show. And until next time, when we bring another guest, again another guest with a twist, I bid you bye for now.